Do atheists deserve to be second-class citizens?
We're protesting Wells Fargo for discrimination against atheists, secularists, free thinkers, anybody that doesn't really have an idea that there's a God.
We're here today to protest unfair treatment by Wells Fargo, by one of the employees who actually discriminated against an atheist on the basis of his atheism.
Honk if you hate discrimination!
The second we walked out here, a lady drove by in her car and she saw the sign and she yelled out at us, "Yeah! Wells Fargo discriminates! They've always discriminated!"
It was a notarization of a document to solemnize marriages. I was certifying that somebody was authorized by the church to perform marriages. And they stonewalled me. They wouldn't allow it. I ended up taking all my money out of the bank just to prove that they knew who I was.
She cut him a check in a matter of moments and out he went. She clearly knew that he was John Whiteside. She was just looking for a reason not to notarize something for the United Church of Bacon.
What we're talking about today is not just discrimination, however, by one person. It is a bank that stood behind the discrimination, that actually stonewalled the investigation into the employee.
John Whiteside went into this Wells Fargo and asked to have something notarized. That's all.
The important thing to remember is that notaries are agents of the government. They're not allowed to discriminate. They're not allowed to make judgment calls. They look at your ID, they make sure that you're the person signing. That's their job.
The other thing she kept doing is asking where the church banks, and the church doesn't bank. We are a secular organization and we fundraise for charities.
Instead of worshiping God, we worship something we know and can prove exists, and that is bacon. We don't accept any coin, so we don't have a bank account.
But despite that, she continued to press him on where the church banks for some reason.
I hope to get it resolved right here. We're not trying to sue Wells Fargo. What we're trying to do is to get them to address a secular phobia and atheophobia in their training of their employees. And also an apology would be nice.
Equal rights, it's a good thing.
We're here hoping that Wells Fargo will come to its senses and say, you know what? This employee did wrong. It won't happen again. And we're going to train our employees so that it doesn't happen again. This is all we're asking for. In fact, it's all we're demanding.
Thank you all for coming. We're protesting Wells Fargo Bank because last year they refused services we believe on the grounds of discrimination against atheists. When they train their employees, they should be telling them you cannot discriminate on the grounds of religion, but also those who have no religion, because we're people too.
They've been sued by women, blacks, Hispanics. This is the cities and the counties that are suing, not them personally. But they've lost $175 million 2 years ago. The bank's response was no. I really did think the media being there was great, because the bottom line is the media needs to be there to get our story out. But, you know, the story is equality. You know, everybody's made that argument throughout history in the United States, and it's about time that we addressed it.
They spent $175 million to settle a lawsuit, federal government level, against African Americans, Hispanics, and women making bad loans. Today is about atheists.
I bank at Wells Fargo. My son says it's a protest that they're discriminating against atheists. I'm going to look into it myself, and if I have to close the accounts, then I will. I'd rather put it under my pillow than support anti-atheist cause. I love atheists.
Great.
I'm an anti-theist myself.
We just tried to close our Wells Fargo account, and that went pretty smoothly. They didn't try to keep us as customers. There was no selling.
But strangely, they didn't ask why we were closing the account or make any effort to stop us from closing the account. So then we asked if we could provide a reason, and they said we could not provide a reason. There was no space for that.
So I said to the first bank employee, I said, so what's going on outside? I don't know, was the response. I said, seriously, you don't know why there's 70 people standing in front of your bank with signs? I said, please don't lie to me. And I said, seriously, I said, you know what, I don't want to do business at a bank full of liars. I can handle anything. You can tell me I don't want to talk about it, or I'm not at liberty to say, but don't lie to me, because lying is probably why those people are in the street.
There's John.
There's John Whiteside right there.
Good.
And we're trying to address this right now so people treat atheists and secularists as normal people. We're not immoral, and we're not un-American.
The biggest misconception is that we're not important, is that we don't count, is that we're too small to count. So many people think it's fine to discriminate against atheists. That's the big misconception, that treating atheists as second-class citizens is okay. It's not.
Atheists are your neighbors, your friends, the people next door. Sometimes we don't speak openly about our beliefs because of prejudice, but I guarantee you know at least one person who doesn't go to services.
Eat tofu bacon, we don't care. As long as you are a lover of bacon in some regard, you can belong to our church. We'll take anybody, it doesn't really matter actually.